Today's Movie Lovers Unite podcast episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We decided to partner up with BetterHelp because we know that therapy can help save lives, as well as help mental health, and BetterHelp will help you find the right therapist for you without waiting in a doctor's office. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing with the stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, or even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you do. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp and Movie Lovers Unite. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/www.betterhelp.com/movie lovers unite. That's betterhelp.com/movie lovers unite and get your 10% off today. And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show for tonight's podcast episode. We're going to be doing the White Boy documentary. This is actually based off of the White Boy Rick movie that we did last month, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And with me, I have independent actress Rossie McCree with me. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
And this is actually one of those things that documentaries I really enjoyed watching. As a matter of fact, I think I watched this documentary like at least 4 times to be able to get everything in there that I wanted to get in there. But it's just messed up on the justice system, on the way that they did Rick and everything too, especially being at age 14 whenever he was discovered by the FBI and then ratting out everybody within his neighborhood and things like that. And then the FBI just starts, they have to cover it up because they realize they have a minor and he got shot, right. And therefore they had to blame somebody. So why not blame a 14-year-old kid that can't even defend himself?
Right. Yes. Yeah, I watched the documentary probably 3 times, third time this morning. When I got up, I watched it again. And yeah, this kid who they labeled a drug pen, kingpin, all this stuff was nothing like that. That was not him. Like John said, he was discovered by the FBI when they were actually Rick's father, Rick Sr., was working with the FBI because he was a gun salesman. He sold guns, and he was selling guns to the Curry brothers. And as the FBI is sitting with Rick's father, and Rick is there at 14, the FBI noticed that all the questions that they had about people in the neighborhood and the Curry brothers, this young boy at 15 knew pretty much everyone in the neighborhood. So they shift their focus from working with his father and decided we can work with this kid. And that's how Rick, at 14 years old, mind you, was introduced to drugs and selling drugs. And that's how it all starts.
Right, and not only that, but if you look at his background before that, all he was pretty much into was going to gun shows with his father. He did sell. Now, what I liked about this was the opening thing that we talked about on the White Boy Rick movie was the fact that him and his dad went to these gun shows, and they would actually either rip off wholesalers for the guns, or they would wind up selling the guns themselves for maybe less the profit or more for the profit. And that was all that they were doing. Like, they were like small arms dealers. Even then, they weren't into they weren't even that big, to be honest with you, to be called like arm dealers. They were just doing it for like pocket money, pretty much, just to put food on the table.
Exactly. And at that time when, besides going to the gun shows, let's step back because Rick was in school. He
Mhm.
was a baseball player. He was the lead pitcher, star pitcher of the team. Very popular in school. Kids loved him. Not many problems. And he was going to the gun shows because he idolized his father. And his mother had left. He and his sister, from what the story says, decided to stay with dad. And so Rick was going to these gun shows at 11, 12 years old, and actually had became a better gun seller than his father. He learned so much by being with his father at these gun shows. So yeah, I thought that
Even
was
it,
quite interesting.
same here as well. It just goes to show you, how the justice system actually works when it comes to certain cases and stuff like that. Too, this
Right.
is actually in the brink of the drugs and stuff like that
Yes.
too.
Yes.
And in order for them to go on ahead and in order for them to go on ahead and capture these guys, they have to
Yeah.
actually have an informant. And at age 14,
Yes.
he was an informant for the FBI, which is just crazy. And not only that, but he had more than
Absolutely.
he had. You know what though? They didn't even capture this on the movie at all, though. To be honest with you, that
Yeah.
he actually
Right.
had 3 or 4 other handlers that was actually handling him. So there
Right.
was a lot of confusion within the force itself and
Yes.
everything. And then even the handlers were backstabbing each other and everything, too. So
Because the FBI, I remember one of the guys, I think his name was a Groman, who was, throughout the whole, obviously the whole documentary, he had made a statement saying that when they used Rick, they didn't use him to go and to be involved with drugs. They just wanted him to point out who everyone was. He's Groman, the FBI agent at the time, said that it was the local, Detroit PD, and like you said, other entities that was using Rick to sell drugs. And actually Rick had made, I think they said up to about $35,000 he had made from working with the police, the local police, to sell drugs and to get involved with the Curry brothers and others in the neighborhood. So he'd made a lot of money by the time he was 15.
exactly, he made a lot more money than his father did doing what
Yes.
he was doing and things like that. But here's the thing: the police thought that it was more fun for, well, not fun, but they thought it would be more wisely to keep him out of school
Yeah.
than to keep him in school because they actually needed him. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning when
Yes.
he would get back from ratting out everybody, showing what houses that
Right.
um
In clubs late at night, like, I remember them, them saying that, he would be out at a club at, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then having to go home and go to school the next day. And I remember him even saying that they didn't even want him to go to school. They didn't feel that was important. They wanted him to, they wanted to get in some indictments for a few of the real drug pens and dealers in
right,
that area. That's what they
exactly.
wanted. So they didn't care about his schooling, what he had to
Nope.
do for school. Him being a kid, it was your hours, and we need you to help us take these people down because Rick lived in an all majority Black neighborhood, so he grew up with ethnic people, Black people. So he
Right.
was in with all of these people, and therefore he becomes really close with the Curry brothers, who they really wanted to get an indictment against.
Right. And then also too, you not only that, but you also have the mayor that was involved in this as well, that was
Yes,
connected.
Coleman Young.
And
Yes,
then white boy Rick
yeah,
is actually dating his niece, which makes it
right,
even worse though
right,
too. So you have that going on at the same time that you're actually trying to bring down a supposed drug lord or whatever,
right,
too, trying to get all these people on an indictment and everything
right.
too.
And the fact that the media, had played such a huge part into painting this kid into Tony Montana. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like you said, he wasn't, his dad was a small arms dealer. Rick was a small neighborhood drug dealer, Through the Curry brothers, he learned through the FBI and the police, he learned a lot. But when he hooked up with the Curry brothers, he learned even more And once the police didn't need him anymore and they dropped him basically, Rick decided to go out there and do what he was addicted to and knew how to do from the age of 14, which was sell drugs. And then he started to get connections out of
Exactly.
Detroit. Yeah.
Right. He learned the trade and
Yes.
everything. And, he ended up learning the trade from doing all this,
Yeah.
And basically, he wouldn't have known that or anything like that if it wasn't for the FBI
Right.
and everything else involved.
Right.
So that's also another thing.
And when he, you know, got involved with the Curry brothers, they were, you know, they had mentioned that Johnny Curry, who was the top guy in charge of his gang, that he kind of took Rick, and it was like a protege. Rick was his protege. I mean, he bought him fur coats. He would ride around town and Curry's BMW. He was really close on the inside, was privy to phone calls that Curry had made with officials.
Yeah, that's actually true. I mean, he made it was actually official with everything else that was going on within that crew with the
Yeah.
Curry brothers and things like that. And it was also a very scary situation for Rick, though, too,
Yes.
because you actually had to get these guys on his side and figure out a way to get them on his side, to be honest.
Right.
And
Right.
that's actually a hard thing to do when, in fact, you're trying to convince them, hey, I'm not working for the FBI. You know who my
Exactly.
dad is and everything.
Right.
So he had that going for him. At least he had that going for him instead of just
Yes.
random person showing up at the Curry brothers' house and just knocking on the
Right.
door. Hey, look, I have guns. Rather than the fact that, like,
Exactly.
you know, so he has some little small connection of knowing who he is, has a reputation of selling these guns and being with his father. And then all of a
Yes.
sudden, he's just dragged into it after he sells those guns to him and
Right.
stuff like that. And then that's when he gets sucked into the life of hustling
Yes.
drugs and stuff like that, and then learning the trade of the drug world. Because during
Right.
the 80s and everything, drugs were a big thing. You had cocaine,
Yeah.
you had heroin, you had all those things going on within the same thing, especially in Detroit of all places, too.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the introduction to crack, of crack
Yep.
to, America, to those neighborhoods. And like you said, Detroit was hit hard during the drug epidemic, absolutely hard. And that neighborhood that Rick lived in actually has started out. It was like a working class neighborhood, and over the years, you see the progression of drugs hitting their neighborhood. And remember, his grandmother and grandfather lived across the street from him. He lived with his dad and his sister, who, we talked about. The sister ended up leaving, had a bad addiction herself, because when crack hit, it's kind of like meth today. Who you probably know someone that's on meth today, because it hit like crack hit in the 80s.
That's true. And
It
it's
attacked, suburban families
right. And at
eventually.
that, exactly. And also too, this is also what made people actually pack up and leave in that neighborhood, though, too. That's
Yes.
another thing that they actually uh they winded up talking about, though, too. Also
Yeah.
too, this is the first time that we're dealing with a sentence that long, 30 years in jail for a
Yes.
nonviolent crime, and 650 grams of heroin or
Right.
cocaine could be sentenced to life without parole.
The
uh
650, this was it 650 lifer law that they came up with, I think in 84 or
yeah,
88, 80, 80, 80, 85 or 88. Basically, you get
yeah,
caught with 650 grams, life.
exactly, automatic life. But also
Yeah.
too, he wasn't even, yeah, he had maybe that much on him, but at the same time, it was also, he didn't decide to go into this business on his own. He got pushed into it with the
Exactly.
FBI. The FBI put that heroin and everything there for him to sell and everything.
Yes.
And then when it was time for them to go down, when the FBI was like, okay, no, who are they going to believe? A minor, or are they going to believe the FBI over us?
Exactly.
We're a federal bureau
Exactly.
of investigation. It's our word against his word. We're a big major facility. We're
Right.
located all over the world. who are they going to believe? A 14-year-old kid that lives in the suburbs or us?
Right.
So we have to
And
throw him under the bus somewhere.
and which it was easy to do, because remember at that time, goodness, who wasn't corrupted in Detroit PD and agencies? I mean, everyone was so corrupted because they made so much money. The drug trade had made so much money that you were able to buy anyone, and that's exactly what happened. The Like you said, the mayor Coleman Young, who was Detroit's everything, people loved him. You know, when his niece, what's her name, Kathy,
Yeah, Kathy.
Kathy, when she married the Curry brother Johnny, that was the niece, that was a mayor's niece marrying this well-known drug kingpin at the time. So when Johnny gets in trouble and they send him away for 20 years, Rick ends up having a relationship with Kathy Coleman, the mayor's niece. And as a matter of fact, that drug bust, that when they raided Kathy's apartment, they happened to find the 17-year-old
In
white boy
bed.
Rick in bed with her, which actually started the process of taking everyone down. Because what is this 17-year-old white kid doing with the
Doing with her.
mayor's niece? Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And then also too, we also have a police officer, a police captain or chief of police of Detroit at that time, who was actually one of the actors that was from Beverly Hills Cop that was actually involved in this.
Gil
And
Hill.
yep, Gil Hill was involved with
Yes,
it heavily and involved with it. And
man,
if it wasn't for Rick being in that gang, they would have not have linked him to anything because he knew.
exactly.
And like one of the detectives said, he taught me the ins and out of police work and
Right,
everything. So he knew how to get around if he needed to get around to doing what he
exactly.
needs to do for that
Right,
drug business. And then he's over there, Rick's over there and everything undercover, and there's a phone call. Who was it? Gil. And
that's right.
if it wasn't for him being on speaker, he would have not
Yeah,
known that was Gil on the phone or anything like that. And then that's gave them enough, the FBI enough evidence to go on ahead and try to investigate Gil and
right.
to investigate him. So I thought that was really fascinating.
I thought the fact that, when they talked about um when they finally got Rick, when they finally got Rick, he was John's
So it's
laughing.
okay.
He was he was they were coming back from he had a shipment of drugs coming in from Miami, a truckload. And so, Rick and a friend are dropping off 10 kilos to people that, they needed to drop the 10 kilos off to. They're driving. There's a traffic officer, follows them, pulls them over. All they have in the car is the cash. There are no drugs in the car. But when they pull Rick over, he's, he gets pulled over in front of his house. Remember his dad and sister outside. And the sister has no clue that the brother is into this lifestyle. The dad does. So the cops, actually, what I got from it is they planted the drugs in the neighborhood when Rick ran from the cop, and and they're saying that they pulled him over for possession of drugs. There was no drugs. They said that they found the drugs a few houses up underneath the porch that
Right.
Rick had dumped off. So that's when he gets put into jail, and his sentence starts there, where he's told he's not going to have to serve that much time. Like he thinks he's not. No one thinks the kid's going to be in there 28 years later.
No, because even then, like, I remember when, well, this goes back to the White Boy Rick movie and everything else, but even
Mm-hmm.
his father was like, there's no way that his kid's going to do time or anything like that. The FBI
Right.
is going to back him up no matter what and everything. And all of a sudden, the FBI is like, nope, we're done. We got what we needed. We got the big old huge RICO case that we've been trying to build. We're done with it
Exactly. Right.
and everything
And
else.
yeah. And
And
remember,
there's,
they thought that he was, remember in the papers when Rick was in jail, the papers were, that's when they start labeling him 17-year-old drug kingpin. They actually had him being the head guy in Maserati.
yep,
What was it? The Maserati dude, the gang,
yeah,
that the Young Boys gang. that
Yeah, the
he was
young
the head
boys.
guy. Even the Curry brothers was like, he wasn't any of that. He didn't come close to selling what we sold. I think that Johnny Curry was kind of offended that Rick got, all that attention from being this head guy when no, he wasn't.
No,
He was not that.
even with that much heroin on him, it would actually have to be a whole lot more for him to get control of that. Because even
Exactly.
then, even the Curry brothers said this. He goes, and you know what though? I have to laugh at when he's laughing in the documentary. He goes, "Come on, man, be real." He said,
Exactly.
He's like, I control half of the Detroit area on one part, while the other gangs control the other parts
Right.
of it. Rick didn't do shit whenever it came down to it, and everything.
Exactly.
You're giving him way too much credit than what giving credit to, and
And they,
everything.
like you said, he found it absolutely hilarious, but at the same time, I think he was like, wait a minute, give me credit. I'm that guy that did that.
Right?
This
Exactly.
17-year-old, and those are grown men. This is a 17-year-old.
Right.
He wasn't running half of Detroit.
No. And imagine being a 17-year-old kid seeing that headline. It's like, oh
Oh,
shit, I'm going to
right.
be dead because now I'm actually representing a drug dealer and taking credit for somebody else's thing whenever I'm not.
Yeah.
And this is not even
Right.
my operation to begin with. They just
Right.
invited me into this thing, and now it looks like I'm taking full credit when I'm not. So that
Exactly.
puts, and then of course, too, this is also, too, when he gets shot. And,
Oh, yeah.
and that was rough on him as well. And then if it wasn't for the shooter's girlfriend being inside, you know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for
Yeah. Coming
her
home.
coming home and everything,
Yeah.
and seeing him laying down about to die, and she calls
Right.
911, he would have been dead
And
because that's
remember,
what's
when she
severe.
called 911, they were putting him in a car. Like he said, he don't know if they were going to dump him or something. Thank goodness for Rick, the ambulance pulled up and cut them off and end up saying, give me him. We got to get him to the hospital. If it weren't for that, the girlfriend coming home and then the ambulance getting there, Rick would have been dumped somewhere, dead somewhere,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And if
Because
he
he
would have died, it would have been bad for everyone involved, the FBI, the Detroit Police Department, because the headlines then would have read,
right
15-year-old, white boy killed, and then everything would
falls
have been
apart.
exposed. So him living actually solidified him being, that guy. And so he was able to go back to the neighborhood where he went back to. They drop him off in the neighborhood. He goes back to the Curry brothers. He's in after that because why would he come back? He would have, if he was an informant in their mind, he would have gave up Johnny Curry and his brothers, the
Right.
Chamberlain brothers. You know what I mean? So him living was why they actually was taken down.
Exactly. And also too, that's also what gave him the reputation,
Absolutely.
which also cranked up many volumes for the FBI just to go full throttle with it
Right.
and everything too. That's another thing too. It wasn't like, oh, okay, well, he got shot, let's not put him into this anymore. It's like, no,
Right.
he got shot, we're gonna go on ahead and do our investigation, screw how he feels.
And
You know,
remember, let's see, he got shot, and then remember
his
the
friends.
the the the, the killer, the Nate
Yeah, the
um
hitman.
Boone, the hitman.
Yeah.
Remember when he ended up really working for, well, I guess when he was found out he was an informant. Remember, Gil Hill wanted him dead.
Right. And you know what though? I wish that they would actually put this in the movie though too, because it would actually added more to it, I think, by having the hitman, because I would like to actually see that. But man, let's just
Yeah.
talk about that. Let's just talk about the hitman dude for a minute.
Oh my
Like,
God.
he was scarred up from, he looked like he had these burnt scars from, it was, I'm like,
He was filleted, dude. His
right.
body.
And on top of that, no wonder why he says that he calls himself the Grim Reaper. and
Right.
everything. It's like he cannot die. He's the one who gives out the order to when you say when he's ready for you to die, it's time for you to die, kind of thing.
And remember, all of his kills, no traces. No one, nothing's traced back to anyone that wanted that person off. He makes sure that he got rid of them. And what's crazy about the whole thing with Rick's sentence is the Curry brothers, 20-year sentence, only serves 14 years. The frickin' Nate Boone Craft, the hitman,
Yeah.
he confesses to 30 murders. Aren't you thinking the same time that everyone else thinking, oh, they're talking to him from prison?
Yeah, I thought so.
I was for sure. There's no way he's out. There's no way he's out.
And he's
Rick is
admitting.
still in prison.
I'll tell you what, if he's out of prison, he's not in prison and everything, that's gangster right there. He's guy.
Dude, it was gangster when he takes off the uniform that he's making us think he's in prison, and he puts on his regular clothes, grabs his cell phone, walks out of the building, and I'm like, wait. He confessed to 30 murders. All of them are out of prison. 14 years, 20 years. That poor kid was still sitting in prison at the time of that documentary.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
30 murders and you're walking?
That's what I was questioning. Is like, okay, you have this kid who, you know, he's basically on a non-violent crime for 30 years. You did 30 deaths and killing people and slaying people, and they're not doing anything to you?
And confess to it.
It makes you wonder, though, too, if maybe he was an informant or something, if he got some type of plea deal. Because something just doesn't seem right about that, to be honest with you.
And you know, the hitman, remember, there's still things that he hasn't told. Because he said there are people, and he said they know who they are, that if I were to open up my mouth and tell, there's a lot more people that could be brought down as well.
Right. Not only that, but he was also part of other organized crimes as well. And not just with the brothers or anything like that either. He was well known in the community when it comes down to that. Let's see here. Missy Joe says, hi, y'all. Hi, Missy Joe.
Hey, Missy Joe.
And then Tanya says, hi. Hi, Tanya. Hi. So let's see here. Another thing that I want to talk about, though, you know, we have Rick. He's in his car with one of his friends and everything. And then all of a sudden, this van just comes out of nowhere. And it was like an act of God that the automatic just goes on ahead and jams. Like they got a couple of shots off. They get a couple of shots off.
Jams up. And they're in a sports car. And remember, throughout this whole documentary, Chris Hansen, who we all know as, you know, the Predator dude that gets all the predators. I was surprised to know that he'd been covering the story. He's the one that interviewed Rick when Rick was, you know, young and in prison. He was going along on drug bust, and Chris Hansen was very much involved. But what you're talking about, they're in the sports car. I think Chris Hansen said that, you know, he sees White Boy Rick, and White Boy Rick sees him and waves, hey, Chris. And at this point, White Boy Rick is just enjoying being a 17-year-old, sports cars. They're at a light, van pulls up, Mac 10 jams, they take off. They can't kill this kid.
No, it's like
they cannot kill this kid. I mean, come on.
I can see the frustration, though, to be honest with you, with the Grim Reaper hitman. He's like, come on. And then, you know, we're going to talk about another thing too whenever we go up into the last few minutes and everything too, because that's also too when the hitman goes on ahead and wants to kill him again, tries to do a setup again.
Oh, that's right.
Twice he tried to kill the dude.
That's right. And this kid was not meant to die. Not by their hands.
Well, get this though, 3 times actually. One time was when he got shot by the dude, by that one dude, actually.
Yes.
And he survived. And then the second time was, yeah, they, whenever he did shoot off the gun and everything, they did
Yeah.
get a couple of shots in, but it wasn't
Yeah.
any type of body contact whenever the bullets landed. And then the
Right.
third time, we're going to get into a few minutes. But
Yes.
then I remember too all the stupid jokes and stuff like that where people said, "Oh, you're just like White Boy Rick with all that weed in there and stuff like that." And the
That's
legend of
right.
the White Boy Rick is not even true. It's
Right.
only it's not even half true if you think about it. But
Right.
the thing that ticked me off about the America's Most Wanted guy is remember when he says, "Oh, I didn't put him on TV on blast that long." Or anything like that. Rick would say that I put him on there every day. I didn't put him on there every day. I'm like, dude, to us, it's every single day because
Absolutely.
we're the viewer. We're the
Right.
ones who are viewing this on a news network, and you're over there running your mouth, making things
Right.
10 times worse for somebody else when you don't even have all the actual details. You only have a few facts thrown in there with some
Exactly.
fictional stuff to make your story pop, and that's
That
it.
he admits to. That he admits, yeah, some of the things were, pumped up a little bit, for headlines. But you're right, dude. You had him on a TV all the time. I mean, that's how people started, looking at him as a legend. That's how they were saying, you're not White Boy Rick. You're not selling, kids in the suburbs knew about White Boy Rick at that time. So
Exactly.
you did put him on TV a lot and you made him into this fictional character that he wasn't. Or
Exactly.
fictional character, yeah. Yeah.
And then also too, we also have Kid Rock that shows up on his trial.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's yep. And the funny thing is there is a song called Back from the Dead, which
Okay.
is actually where the lyrics from White Boy Rick comes from
Yes.
and everything. I mean, I think it was from the very first album that he came out with.
I didn't even know, like, until I saw the documentary. I forget that, yeah, he's from Detroit as well. And like he said, he went and spoke for Rick at one of the probation hearings because the parole hearings, I'm sorry, because that could have been him. He felt like that could
Right.
have been him or any other kid living in that area at that time, so but he slid in easily and slid out easy. He didn't make a big scene of him coming to testify for Rick or on his behalf, just the fact that he did it because he knew that could have been him.
Exactly. It wasn't about, and then there was also this huge thing. Oh, Kid Rock's gonna go bail him out of jail and everything, and take
Yeah.
him for a limo drive. I'm not
Right.
going for
He's gonna be a
Barbados, but that's
roadie.
basically what it is, right? But
Yeah.
you know, I'm just gonna go into a little bit about Kid Rock though on his life and compare it to Rick a little bit because
Okay.
his father was actually a used car dealer, and
Okay.
everything, and living up in the Detroit area. So, that wasn't about his life. That wasn't the life that Kid Rock wanted. He wanted to
Right.
pursue the rap career. But imagine if he didn't pursue that career. Imagine, okay, I don't want to do my dad's business or anything like that. I'm going to pursue drugs.
Exactly.
It could happen the same exact way like Kid said.
Yep.
You
I see
know,
that. Yeah.
because what other options you actually have in a rundown city like Detroit? It's like the apocalypse up there if you think about it.
Right. No, it really does look like that. Then and even now, it looks exactly like that. It looks like you're in Kuwait somewhere. You don't expect for a city in America to look like that, and even in the 80s, you just don't. I mean, look at how it looks. You know what I mean? So if you don't have the drive to get out there and you're approached and you're making $35,000 legally from the police department, they're giving you this stuff. Yeah, he made it,
Exactly, and then
you
even
know?
right, and then get this, even in the Kid Rock song, somebody said, "I'm the best in the Motown, but this town ain't shit, but a ghost town." Whoever said they
Yeah.
lied,
Yeah.
they fest, bitch. But I'm the best in the motherfucking Midwest. So that goes to show you how much he represented where he was from, about how
Right.
much of a dark city this place actually is, and it's a Walking
Exactly.
Dead kind of
Right.
place, and everything's run down.
Because you have to remember in the 50s, 60s, Detroit was thriving, I believe. You had they were the Motor City, you know, so you had what, middle class America, working class America, working at the factories. This was a thriving city at one point in time, and to see where they were and where they are now and in the 80s, it's absolutely sad,
It really is. It
you
really,
know.
because I think at one time though, Detroit was actually known for making vehicles, stuff like
Yes,
that, and that's what they
yes,
were known for. And now those jobs are now gone,
right,
and everything
right,
moved on to other countries and stuff like that too. So therefore, they don't have that economic booming power that they once had.
exactly, exactly. And therefore you have that story with Rick, you know, and like Kid Rock said, you know, again, that could have been me, that could have been another
Mhm.
kid up the street,
Yep.
you know, because we know the neighborhood, we live in a neighborhood, we know the different players, you know, and the dad being, you know, a car salesman, you know, Rick's dad, if not for Rick's dad being a gun salesman and selling to the Curry brothers, you know, like they said, he was smart in school. If he would have stayed out in the suburbs with his mother, and when he did spend that summer with his mom, remember they said he thrived. That's when he was playing, you know, the sports and all that. But he wanted to be with his father, and so yeah, and I
Exactly.
get that, you know, he's a boy. He wants to be with his dad, and he
Right.
idolizes his dad, you know.
Exactly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tried to sell guns and everything else because his dad was good at making stuff. He was good at crafting things and everything
Exactly.
too.
Right.
So,
Yeah, they said that he had a number of patents. The dad did.
yep, which I found really fascinating. Like I said, I wish they would have actually added more to Matthew McConaughey's character when it came down to playing his, because I think it would have actually beefed up the character a lot more to give us
Right.
that. So
Yeah.
maybe it would have actually been received well, especially with the hitman though going after Rick would actually put more of a suspense level on it. To be
Yeah,
honest with you.
I do wish that they would have added that in there. You know, because learning about the hits that they had out on him, the hit that they, you know, trying to kill him other times. Yeah, I wish that they would have added that into the movie. And I get that there's so much going on that they, you know, had to condense the movie and just kind
Right.
of give the relevant things. But to know about this hitman, you know, like you said, the court scene that we'll be talking about, you know,
Right. Then
all this
also
extra stuff that was going on, you know.
right. And then also too, Rick wasn't thinking as 14, 17-year-old kid, I'm jeopardizing my own friends' lives by doing this. And before you know it,
Right,
they're getting killed off because
right.
they know Rick. And then also too, you also have the war that went on with the brothers as well after that fight that happened in Vegas.
Oh yeah, yeah. The
And
Hearns fight. Yeah,
right. And even one of the Curry brothers who said that he runs half of Detroit and everything else was laughing about
yeah.
that. He said, "Look, I even told them. I said, do not go over there. Do not try and start anything." He goes,
Right.
"It's fine. Let it go." They didn't let it go as young people are. They're not going to let things go and fly off their backs like they do. They're very emotion. They built themselves on
Exactly.
emotion. They're not thinking
Exactly.
straight or anything like that. And what happens? They go on ahead. They blast this guy's house, thinking that he's in there. Instead, it's actually a kid that winds up dying.
Yeah, that the result of the fight that the Curry's brothers, their friend Leon, um, who had promised tickets, VIP tickets. He had it for them to go to Vegas, watch the Hearns fight. It was in 1984. This was a huge fight. Um, uh, the the contender Hearns was well known in Detroit at the time, and he also kind of ran in that crowd as well, the drug crowd. So everyone was rooting for Hearns to win. They go to the fight. The tickets aren't there, no VIP tickets. And just remind you, Rick was 15 years old. The FBI got him a room at one of the casinos, wanted him to go to Vegas to see the fight, got him a room, got him a fake ID saying that he was 21 years old, and gave him pocket money to spend, about $1,500 for Rick to spend while he was in Vegas to attend that fight so that he can go and, you know, get more information for them. So being that Leon didn't come through with the tickets, the VIP passes, when they get back, they end up doing a drive-by to kill Leon, and come to find out his nephews are actually at the house. And that's when the 13-year-old kid gets killed, Damon. He gets killed, Damian Lucas. And once that 13-year-old gets killed, you have Gil coming back in the picture, hiding, covering up that 13-year-old's killing, you know.
Right. And
who they believe that Curry, you know, obviously the Curry brothers had something to do with it. He says he didn't, and he would not talk on camera about it.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
that also convicts him.
Exactly. Because the case is still open.
Right. I find that ironic. The case is still opened instead of
Yeah.
closed because of the fact that Rick is arrested.
Yeah.
And everything, and it's still an open case.
Still an open case.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. I was shocked to hear that case is still open, and then I understood. Oh, okay, that's why Johnny Curry decided that he will not speak on it. He didn't want to talk about the kid's death. He would not talk on camera about it, which obviously tells you a lot. You know something, but the case is still open, so not going to talk about that. And I get it. I get it on a legal point perspective.
But get this though. You also have the hitman who just don't give a shit, just talking.
Dude, talking.
I'm like,
he's talking.
He's got to be in some safe house or something.
Somewhere. I mean, he's telling it all, and still wanted to talk. I mean, if they could have just interviewed him, just make a movie about his life.
That's what I want to see. Something bad is how he came up into that lifestyle. Yeah. And not only that, but he even said this. He goes, if they wanted a certain body part off the person, he would give it to them.
That's right.
And everything too. So this is some guy that is not meant to be messed with at all.
Exactly. And he's the age that he is now. So you figure back then, this was a young 20-something-year-old that was a hitman.
And the dude still looked like he was buff though.
He looked like he still worked. That's why I thought he was sitting in prison, because he looked like he was doing prison workouts. Right. He was so big. I was not expecting for him to wrap up and then grab his cell phone and walk out.
Me either. That's what surprised the hell out of me, to be honest with you. And then also too, imagine him being 23 years old and being buff like that, like a tank. I'll be like, look, I'm just gonna lay here. I did what I did. I'm gonna play dead. I'm like, game over.
Even then, he was scary. I'm looking at him and just was he not proud? Didn't he come off as just he was very proud of the work that he'd done. He was very proud of confessing to 30 murders. I mean, he had to even laugh at the fact that I tried to take this kid out twice and didn't get him. And that does not happen to him.
No. And let's go on ahead and cover that right now too. Since we're so close to pretty much the end of the documentary, even though we're skipping around and jumping around. But it's fine though. I mean, there's just so much stuff to digest in this film that we're not giving everything away. This thing is actually streaming on Netflix if you guys want to check it out.
Yes.
But it's even check out White Boy Rick. I have that still downloaded onto my hard drive on the on my Genie and everything on my DirecTV because I loved it so much. But anyways, so Rick is actually being indicted and everything else on the charges. He's getting ready to be delivered over into the courthouse. He also then of course the hitman gets a call from one of the Curry brothers and they say, hey, look, I need you to go on ahead, take out White Boy Rick. So then he's waiting for him out in the front of the building, just waiting. And then he gets a call. He's already inside. He goes, wait, what the hell do you mean he's already inside? What do you mean he's inside? He's inside the building. And at that point in time,
they I mean, come on, they knew that, this kid was marked. They had a perfect position where they was gonna, they had a sniper rifle and all that. But they decided to take him underground and find different ways of bringing him into the courthouse. And I remember him saying, he got a call saying, he's in a courthouse already. Dude's like, what do you mean how? And that's when they realized, okay, they're taking him underground through a tunnel. I mean, they wanted this kid dead This kid knew too much. The conversation on the phone, hearing Gil on speakerphone, he knew too much. He can bring down a whole department, in which he ended up doing.
Yep, without any problem or anything like that. And
None.
you know, I was wondering about this though with Gil, like how many years did he actually run this operation behind closed doors until he was actually exposed? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Because
Before Rick. Before
right.
there even was a Rick.
And you know what's funny though? After he got his little fame with Beverly
Yeah.
Hills Cop, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm gonna be clean now." I'm like, "What, dude?
Yeah.
You're already in." In the words
So
of
deep.
gambling, you're already pot dedicated. You might as well just go all in and stay in at
Right.
this point.
Right. But what's crazy about it is this kid still sat in prison. Years go by. They had mentioned that in Michigan, anyone that's serving a life in prison, they're always up for parole every 5 years. They're up for parole. Rick did not get his first parole hearing until I think it was 2003, after serving 14 years. And even with that, they thought he would get out and still got denied, which tells you there's someone way up at the top that still does not want this kid out, wants him to
Nope.
pay for everything he's done. And it's what new people are in office. I mean, years have gone by. We're 14 years later, and they're still covering up, and they still have this kid who's an adult now in prison.
And the
He
crazy thing
really,
is,
really messed it up. But
mhm.
he messed with the wrong people, and I think that Gil situation is what really hurt him.
The Gil situation, then also the mayor situation.
Yeah, the mayor, right,
That's the
right.
biggest thing, though, was the mayor
The
situation. To be
mayor,
honest
right.
with you, because I
That's
wouldn't be
true.
surprised if the mayor had something to do with it, though. Too, it's like,
Very true.
okay, he's sleeping with my niece. We got a problem here. That's like sleeping with
Yes,
Tony Soprano's daughter without consent
right,
from Tony, and
right.
everything too. For example, and that's the thing. You know, it's putting the spotlight on the mayor, which is not good. So therefore, I wouldn't
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
surprised if he's like, you know what? I'm gonna expose him through Gil and let Gil take care of it through his people and do it that way, and let them get this. What if Gil's people was actually one of the handlers
Yeah.
and do it
Yeah.
that way, where it's actually confusing the system because get
Right.
this, he's already got 3 or 4 other handlers that's handling him. So
Also, go ahead.
this is me speculating. There's no truth in this,
No, I hear
but
you. No, I get you.
I'm just trying to connect the dots a little bit. But what
Yeah.
if he got Gil to go on ahead and get his people involved and
Right.
say, "Hey, look, I want you to go on ahead and do a misconception with him, with
Right.
Rick, and let him rat out everybody." And at the same time, after all this is over with, we're gonna make him pay for making you because he slept with your niece.
Very true. Very true. That's a theory. Um, I found it also fascinating that when they raided Kathy, the niece, her apartment, remember they found that laminated card with all the phone numbers on there. And
Yep.
remember, Gil's name was on there, his phone number was on there. And remember also, any paperwork that any of them needed, Kathy was able to get that paperwork because she was protected by the mayor. Remember, he put some bodyguard security
Yeah.
that was with her all the time, so she was able to get anything that they needed. She knew what was going on before it went on, with the police and all that. So, but that laminated card, that's what brought Gil really into the situation, and they started to look at him because his name is on that card. So what else does she have? And she had
Exactly.
a lot.
Another thing too is this. I like the fact that the granddaughter the of the judge is now doing the
Yes.
sentencing, which I find
Right.
really awesome because now she's like,
Yes.
why is it he now she's even questioning things. Why is this
Yes.
young kid in here? Why was he doing 28 years in prison? Why did my
Right.
grandfather give him this harsh of a punishment whenever this whole entire law was not even working to begin with at all?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
basically it was like they said, it was a threat, just saying, okay, just to threaten somebody and everything. And they
Yeah.
weren't actually gonna go on ahead and use it unless they
Yeah.
had to. But Rick was just the whole entire thing of using him as an example of what would
Right.
happen if somebody else did it. But they didn't think anybody else think of it that anybody would actually go through with it. So
Yeah.
therefore, they put that law into effect, thinking that
Yeah.
if it threatened them, they wouldn't do it.
And you're right. The judge, I think her name was Calloway. Her grandfather, who presided over the case that she inherited. I remember her saying that, like you said, in the newspaper, they had wrote a quote from the judge going along with what the media was saying, that he was basically a detriment to society. He was, do not let him out, because of, um, basically blaming drugs and people dying of drugs and all that. Rick's name is in that whole report. Like, he is the sole, he's responsible for the downfall of Detroit because of drugs,
Exactly.
you know. And you're not mentioning the Curry brothers, the Chambers. You're not mentioning
Who has
any of the
control?
other
Right.
groups that ran Detroit. Like you said, huge segments of Detroit split up between them, but Rick's name is throughout that whole thing. And like you said, possibly, the mayor, Coleman Young, it was a wrap. It was a
Right.
wrap. We don't ever want him to get out. And they did that. They absolutely did that. They got their way. I mean, think about it. He was in for 30 years,
Yep.
29 years,
Yep.
you know?
He missed out on a lot. His father passed away. His mother's not in the
Right,
best health either. Then you
right.
also have his son, who's now getting ready to have a kid of his own and get
Yeah,
married, and wants his
yeah,
father out to celebrate it, and he can't
yeah,
be there. And he's suffering. I mean, Rick is suffering through all this.
yeah.
But the one plus side is at least you have one judge that was actually on his side and dropped
Yes,
and acquitted the charges and moved him over into Florida to finish off.
because I was shocked by that. I, he is serving. Is he out now, or is he still in 5 years in Florida?
I think he's still 5 years in Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
And I remember them saying that there was a phone call made to the Florida authorities saying, "We want you guys to prosecute him to the full extent of the law." So things are still going on in Detroit, still don't want him out, want to make sure that when he gets extradited to Florida for the car crime that he did, he wanted to get his mom a car. He ended up doing something really stupid. He got 5 years for that. So when he did get released, finally in Detroit, they extradited him to Florida, where he is
Yeah,
serving his 5-year sentence for the car theft, the auto
exactly.
ring theft. But other than that, his record was, he shouldn't even be serving time for that. Like, he
No,
had great record in prison. Other than this one thing that he did, his record was great. No trouble whatsoever.
exactly. And now everybody's fighting for Rick's freedom once again in the
Yes.
Florida side. So
Yes.
I'm hoping for a happy ending for Rick. He deserves a happy ending and
Yes.
stuff like that. He does not deserve to be locked up for 30 years in prison for something that was not even his fault to begin with.
Exactly. Right.
So,
It should have been all just done with. Just, don't even charge him in Florida. It should have been where he served
right.
enough time, let him go. No. And so, yeah, the whole Detroit system, all that still had a hold on him, you know, to this day.
Yep. And like I said, I wish that they would have just acquitted him of everything.
Yes.
Because come on, the carjacking could have actually been tied into it already and just
Right.
drop the charges. Or they could have just said, you know what, he did 30 years already for something.
Exactly.
He did enough time.
Exactly.
But no, they make the kid suffer even more. the guy
Yeah,
stopped
they
raising him.
violated every right this kid had. They violated this kid's right. And he didn't ask to be in it. You guys
No.
brought him into this at 14 years old. You're giving him money that he'd never make. He
Nope.
couldn't imagine at 14 years old. I mean, he bought his first car at 15 and didn't even have a driver's license. Like, and you want him to go straight when you drop him off and just, we're done with you. We got what we wanted. He was used
He was. He was
by
used.
everyone.
Yep.
Yes.
But is there anything else that you wanted to cover within this, or do you think we covered it all as far as
I
raising
have
him?
my notes here, and honestly, we covered everything.
Okay.
I just want to just say one more time,
Okay.
so people can understand. The people that were killing people, the drug dealers that were really selling drugs, and people were dying, after using these drugs, these people are out. These people got out of prison after serving 14 years of 20-year sentences. The hitman got out after confessing to 30 murders, and a juvenile who committed a non-violent crime sat in prison for 30 years and is still in prison today.
That's just nuts. And
That is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
it goes all the way back to when we were talking about who would do more time than Rick would be out sooner than they would.
they
Remember?
even said it.
Right.
Yeah, each one of them, the hitman said it. And he was threatening, if y'all don't let this boy out of prison, I'm going to tell on other people that have done things. The Currys, Johnny Curry said that boy should have been home year 7 of serving his sentence.
Yep.
He should, all of them agree. He said that his daughters, the Curry daughters, the young generation was saying, why is this boy still in prison? So, the system, it just lets you know how powerful the system is. And it could have happened to anyone.
Exactly. So with that being said, that's everything that I wanted to cover as far as the White Boy documentary goes and everything else. So where can everybody follow you at?
You can follow me on Instagram at McCree123 hotmail.com. That's MCCREE hotmail.com. You can follow me at Twitter at Rossie Lynn Bark 1. And on Facebook, you can find me at Rossie Lynn on my Facebook page.
Okay, and everybody, you guys can actually follow me at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook, underneath the same name on Instagram and on Pinterest as well. You guys can also go on ahead, get an audio-only version of this show and wherever you guys get your podcast from. I'm actually uploading some of the audio stuff onto the YouTube stuff, and there's like 300 and something episodes, so each month or whatever, I'm going to be uploading, or maybe certain days of the week, if it's like a slow week or whatever, not much movie news is popping or anything like that, or if I don't have anything to review. I'm going to be posting some audio stuff onto the YouTube channel. If you missed out on some episodes, you can have a good way of actually checking those out. Another thing, too, is if you guys watch, you guys don't have to. If you guys want to go ahead and donate into the show, how do you do that? Just go to www.gofundme.com/Movie Lovers Podcast. And then, of course, you can go to our movie page called www.movieloversunite.com for all your entertainment needs and wants. Then, of course, you guys can also follow me on Twitter at Movie Lovers Unit. And then, of course, on Stereo 2 at Movie Lovers Unit. You go on ahead if you want to reach out to me. How do you do that? You just go on ahead and email me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And that's everywhere that you guys can follow me at. Tomorrow night, I don't really have anything going on. Well, I'll take that back. I have a What About Bob movie review that I'm going to be doing with Micro Break Podcast. It's all from mental health, because next month is going to be mental health month. So we're going to be doing a full throttle of mental health movies. We're starting off with What About Bob. And the What About Bob review will actually be up on live stream tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific Time. And it should be uploaded in the morning time around 9:30, depending on the process of the YouTube channels and stuff like that. So go ahead, give that a look, give that a like, and also, too, give it a share. Also, too, if you like this video, if you want to see more, go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below. Also, too, there's a little notification bell that lets you know when I'm about to do a live stream. So go ahead and click that over there. And also, too, give us a thumbs up, give us a share, and always until next time, guys, bye-bye.